Swamps and wetlands are often places of mystery, dense and forbidding. But for archaeologists, these hidden corners can be treasure troves.
Tonight, we delve deep into a swamp that swallowed an entire village. We join an archaeological exploration of a site cloaked in mystery, a catastrophic moment frozen in time that provides a rare window into 17th century Aotearoa. Now, with the help of cutting-edge science, the swamp is giving up its secrets. Who were the people who settled here and then disappeared as quickly as they came? What will be revealed about the way they lived and the way they died?
Discover what lies beneath as we unearth the secrets of the swamp.
Swamps seem to be places of death and decay, but in fact, swamps have the power to preserve, thanks to the anaerobic or oxygen-depleted conditions under the sludge and soil. Without oxygen, the biological organisms that cause decomposition cannot survive. Wood that's been preserved in a swamp can be as robust as freshly milled timber. This guitar is made of prehistoric swamp kauri that's over 2,000 years old, dredged from a swamp during drainage. Ancient kauri stumps are routinely cleared from paddocks in the North Island. They are extraordinary examples of the preservative qualities of an oxygen-depleted swamp. And it's these qualities that make swamps such a rich source of material for archaeologists.
At a glance, you wouldn't think there was much for an archaeologist to get excited about here in the dairy land of the Bay of Plenty. But before this land was drained for farming, it was one big swamp. Nowadays, less than 1% remains of the 40,000 hectares of shallow wetlands which existed here in the Rangataiki Plains.
Here at Kohika, just west of Whakatane, a team of archaeologists carefully pick through tons of swamp soil, unearthing pieces of a vast puzzle, fragments of the village that once stood on this site.
Yeah, it's relational to the Hingapi.
It can be back-breaking, dirty work.
Ugh.
Jeff Irwin, Professor of Archaeology at the University of Auckland, has dedicated his career to unlocking the 17th century time capsule that was first discovered here over 30 years ago.
What first tipped you off that there was more to this site than just your average dairy paddock?
Well, when it was being drained in 1974, the machine skirted the edge of the high ground and it exposed a line of palisade posts, which would have been a light defence of Karnika stakes, and it began to throw artefacts out with the ditch spoil.
This chance discovery was quickly recognised as a unique site.
So what did you find when you first excavated here at Kohika?
Well, we excavated through the late 70s, and during that time we found hundreds, if not thousands, of artefacts that covered the whole range of the material culture.
From the earth came a remarkable array of the everyday possessions of a living community. It was as if the people of Kohika had abandoned their settlement in a hurry, taking virtually nothing with them. Just why they left would be one of the mysteries of the site.
So is that what you'd normally expect to find, the wooden woven stuff as well?
No, these things are really rare. Not just rare in New Zealand, but rare worldwide, and they're becoming increasingly so as wetlands are being drained. But what's really significant about this place is what was preserved, the organic material. We got the normal range of inorganic, but we got all the organic too, and that's about 80% of the material culture.
And you only found that because of the preservative qualities of the swamp?
That's right, and the fact that it had stayed wet since occupation.
Now, 30 years on from the first dig, Jeff has brought a team back to Kohika to try to solve the mysteries that remained after the first excavation. The quality and sheer volume of the artefacts are helping paint a picture of what life in the village must have been like, even down to their domestic animals. Here, a dog skull has been found next to a coil of vine rope.
Yeah.
But while there have been thousands of organic artefacts recovered from the site, items crafted from stone have been relatively rare, which makes the discovery of this greenstone pendant particularly important. It's a high-status item, a further clue about the people who lived here. But before they move the pendant, the archaeologists map its position and dimensions. With this information, they'll create a highly accurate three-dimensional computer model of the settlement, mapping patterns of artefacts and locations of buildings.
So Kohika was a permanent settlement, but it's in the middle of a swamp, so what made it so attractive?
Well, the Tarawera River flows down just over here, and when it was occupied in the 17th century, the Rangataiki came through and joined the Tarawera, and Lake Kohika was situated in the fork, and so it had tremendous access both to the coast and coastal resources and also inland for the movement of trade goods inland. And so it was really a strategic location with terrific access to food, but also for wider communications.
With a network of rivers nearby and artefacts including canoes and paddles, all the evidence points to the people of Kohika being traders. But with every possible answer come further questions, and today the site is buzzing with another mystery. Buried just a metre down is an intricately woven artefact in near mint condition that hasn't seen the light of day for hundreds of years. Exposed to the air, it'll begin to deteriorate immediately. The team must act quickly to preserve it. Dilys Johns will be responsible for the excavation of this significant find and its subsequent analysis back at the university.
I think that might be something to do with that. Oh, yeah. And it might be, part of its frame, but I don't know.
To me it does.
The artefact is remarkably intact, but it's difficult to decipher what it was used for.
It might be quite elastic.
To begin with, we thought it was an eel trap, but now we're wondering if it might be a sort of cloak, but we're not sure because we can't really tell until we turn it over and have a look at what's on the other side.
Several Bay of Plenty iwi have an interest in Kohika. Ngāti Awa has been closely involved in the excavation. They are equal partners in the project with the University of Auckland and keen participants in the process.
Significantly, this is the first time that we as the Tangata Whenua have agreed for this process to happen. And I think that is important because the research that is done will provide New Zealand as a whole information and knowledge to empower us in terms of the unique history of this place in New Zealand.
The artefact is extremely fragile, so Dilys sprays it with an acrylic resin to harden it sufficiently for further cleaning and preparation for removal. It'll dry overnight before being carefully lifted from the ground and taken to the university for detailed analysis.
Can you take that there?
In preparation for travel to the University of Auckland, it's covered with a protective foam that'll harden to cushion it snugly. It's then cut clean out of the ground on a pedestal of soil. The painstaking job of removing the artefact from the ground has taken days. But this is only the beginning of the long process of unravelling its mysteries.
The
The archaeology of swamps and wetlands is a specialised discipline with its own peculiar challenges. Wooden artefacts removed from swamps often have the consistency of soft cheese.
The National Archaeological Conservation Lab at the University of Auckland specialises in the conservation and preservation of archaeological objects found in swamps and wetlands. Dilys Johns' work here is akin to criminal forensics, as she carefully gleans vital information from long-lost artefacts.
So Dilys, archaeologists will bring you wooden artefacts immersed in water like this. What then happens with them?
Nearly always they're impregnated with polyethylene glycol, which is a synthetic substance that takes the place of the water inside the objects or inside the artefact, which is a bit like candle wax really. So it doesn't offer a lot of strength to the artefact, but it helps it keep its shape.
So it keeps its original dimensions?
Yes.
Whereas normally what, they'd be freeze-dried and then shrink?
Well, if they were allowed to dry out without any impregnant, they would shrink and crack, yes.
Artefacts from sites all over New Zealand spend months in the polyethylene glycol solution before emerging, hardened sufficiently for further analysis and display. Now Dilys is tackling the mysterious artefact recently found at Kohika.
I've cleaned the top surface to it.
Oh yeah.
Have a look down. It's made of fine manuka stalks and kiakea vine.
That's fascinating. Dilys, you've cleaned up this side. Why then do we have a layer of dirt still around the outside?
It's quite difficult to do a lot of conservation in the field because of rain and wind. And
So you bring all the dirt it was sitting on as well, basically, a nice
That's
layer
right.
of it. And will that tell a story as well then?
it does, yes. We're hoping that there'll be material on the other side, like hair or charcoal or pollen or other plant remains that we can excavate.
You can learn more about the site just from the dirt alone, let alone the artefact.
That's right.
This artefact from Kohika is just the latest clue in an archaeological detective story that spans 3 decades. At the time of the first excavation in the 1970s, the Conservation Lab didn't exist, and all materials were put into storage while the facility was created. The investment paid off. Following conservation, a badly degraded 1-metre tall carving was identified as a potoko manawa, or support post for a whare whakairo carved house, the oldest of its kind ever recovered. This replica of the potoko manawa was created by a master carver using traditional hand-adzing techniques. And if the support post survived the ravages of time, could there be other remnants of the carved house still in the swamp? They continue to unearth clues about the village that once stood here.
This is a bone harpoon head, the first we've found here. And it's got a barb here, and it's got some striations around the back, which may be for its attachment.
This is just one of a cluster of treasures recently removed from this area, including a tattooing chisel, whalebone mallet, and greenstone pendant.
What does the treasure trove of artefacts you've found here tell you about the personal people who might have lived in this house?
Well, these are fairly high status items, but they don't necessarily have to be in a chiefly house. But clearly this is a house with pretty rich contents.
A little further down the site, more evidence of dwellings is coming to light.
So what's going on here, Jeff? I mean, it just looks like a giant sandpit. My kids would be very happy.
This is a really extensive floor of yellow sand that's been quarried from the top of the dune over there and perhaps carried down in baskets. And it's been deliberately laid, and as it's been dirtied, they've laid it again, band after band, just as if they were you were recarpeting your house at home.
So that would be an indoor space or an outdoor one?
It's very likely to be an indoor space. We've got a floor here, a really solid, clear floor. What I'm looking for is walls, perimeter walls. If I find walls, then that means a roof, and that means this is a roof structure and maybe a substantial house.
The team has plotted every sign of human habitation, and the data has been mapped in a computer to create a graphic reconstruction bringing to life a village that was last seen more than 300 years ago.
So Jeff, how long were people living here?
We think they were living here for about a generation or two, maybe 30 or 40 years, and that would have been in the second half of the 17th century, somewhere between, say, 1650 and 1700. And then, quite suddenly, they left, and they left almost everything behind. And so what we have here, preserved in the swamp around the edges of this island, is a terrific detailed window on what life was like for Maori in the 17th century.
Living in a swamp had its benefits, including easy access to resources from the coast and inland. So why would the people suddenly leave? The evidence suggests that Kohika was abandoned in the aftermath of a natural disaster, a great flood that sent the people fleeing to higher ground and clogged the waterways around the village with silt. Suddenly, the canoe access that the village depended upon had disappeared.
The main reason for living at Kohika was gone, and so they left. But they probably didn't go very far, and it seems very likely that the descendants of the people of Kohika are living in this area today.
One of the most important acts of this dig is the exhumation of human remains first discovered in the 1970s. At that time, no bones were removed from the site in accordance with the wishes of the local iwi. Today, technology's advanced and the remains will be removed for DNA analysis. Representatives of Ngati Awa are on hand to ensure the proper protocols are observed.
The discovery of the remains here at the Kohika is very significant because the bones are the connection to the ancestral past, and this discovery will enable us to analyse them in a way that we can find out more about our ancestral connections to the people of the site here when they were living over 300 years ago.
So to achieve that analysis, what happens to the bones now?
The Auckland University has a relationship with Archaeology and Ngati Awa, and they have the expertise, so we need them to, from here, from the site, take them up to Auckland, and there the analysis will be done. Hopefully they can track the DNA of the bones with our DNA as well to show that our connection here as the tangata whenua or Ngati Awa to this side is a solid one. This remain that has been found will tell us exactly the lifestyle and the culture of our ancestors in those very early days.
What then happens to the bones longer term? Do they stay up there?
Once the preservation is concluded, the bones then will be returned back to be placed in the ancestral burial ground not far from our marae.
In Auckland, the mammoth task of conserving the artefacts found at Kohika has begun. Following analysis, it seems likely that this is a hinaki, an eel net, discarded when Kohika was abandoned. Once Dillis has completed the conservation work, it'll be returned to Ngati Awa.
I like the idea of handing history back to the iwi or back to New Zealanders. And also just solving the mystery, as with all archaeology, understanding the past.
At Kohika, Jeff and his team have found the sand platform where the whare whakairo once stood, but haven't found any other parts of the great carved house. Following the flood, the whare whakairo was abandoned. The mobility of Māori of this time meant abandonment of buildings and possessions was not uncommon. Even taonga such as carvings could be recreated, and the very act of renewing them would keep people in touch with their ancestors.
So 30 years later, Jeff, and you're still finding things here. How much longer are you going to be able to dig here?
Well, this is the beginning of year 2 of a 3-year project, and we've got enough time to finish this and maybe open some more.
So Jeff, how significant is this site in terms of our understanding of a pre-European Maori settlement?
Well, Kohika now gives us a very detailed snapshot of a village community as it was in the 17th century, which means after some centuries of development of Maori society in New Zealand.
So after 3 decades, how extraordinary is this site?
Well, I've been travelling overseas to visit wet sites while I've been writing up Kohika, and I've visited the major sites in Scandinavia, and I've peered at the bogs of Ireland and in the United Kingdom, and this site really rates among the 20 most significant wetland sites in the world. So it's not just really important within New Zealand, it's significant worldwide. And now that we're publishing the information, it's being recognised as such.
Over the past 30 years, the work of archaeologists at Kohika has unearthed hard evidence of life in 17th century Aotearoa and helped paint a vivid picture of this period of our history. Now we're left wondering what else may be lying deep in the hearts of swamps and wetlands, just waiting to be discovered.